There we go. Probably help if I unmute myself. I did this last time I was on here too. Anyway, hey, welcome everyone. Welcome. It's your boy Rafaelito here with a special guest today. Probably most of you don't know this guy. If you're a loyal follower of mine on the Facebook feed and those other social media, you may have seen his face and his name mentioned and articles posted that this guy here has written. This is Coach Jason, or as he calls himself, Coach J for short. Coach J here has been with myself in the Dad Starting Over world and now the helpformen.com world as first a member of our private group and then became a coach. You could say also a mentor, counselor of our membership. Since you were the number one dude that I reached out to say we need to expand my efforts into the coaching realm, and I went to Mr. Jason here and said, what do you think about that? Because you have experience doing that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Ralph, thank you for having me on, and definitely a privilege to be a part of Help for Men and Dad Starting Over prior to that. So back then, I was active duty Army, and I'm tooling around the garage. I'd been a member of the DSO Facebook page for, I don't know, maybe 3 months and got really active in it. And I found that I was able to leverage my experience as a military coach and counselor. Any of you guys that served in the military know that your non-commissioned officers are highly educated in coaching and counseling. It is part of your job to do that for your soldiers. If they're not ready to deploy and their personal life is in shambles, they can't deploy and go do what we need to do. So they're ineffective as a warrior in the unit, or less effective perhaps. So I just used those tools and really changed gears into the world of relationships and, men's self-improvement. Simple as that. There really wasn't a whole lot of difference to what I would do day to day in the Army and what I was doing with a bunch of, at the time, random guys online, So my background.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask, tell us your background, like how many years in the service and all that good stuff.
Yep. So I did 22 years in the United States Army. I retired in March of 2024, and now I am the coaching director for helpformen.com full time.
And we have how many gentlemen other than yourself? Let's see. Can we count them? You got Austin, Scott, Gus, Vance, yourself. So there's like 6 of us total.
Gus, yeah. So I work with those gentlemen to make sure we're all running in the same direction. We've got a unified message and maybe different ways of getting to the same end goal, because we've got a lot of different members and different people we need to connect with, but we all end up at the same place, and that's what's most important to me, being effective.
And you each have your own specialties. Austin is good with the former nice guy stuff, which is another term for like a codependent type of dude, and he has a structured program for guys, and we'll get into your own structured programs. But and we have Gus is getting more and more into the world of being married to a gal who's going through menopause. That's his kind of his wheelhouse now, and there's a lot of demand for that right now. Vance is our fitness guy. He's a PhD in the world of health and fitness. And then we have Scott, who also went through a major life transformation and lost, hundreds of pounds? He is not the same dude. Yeah,
somewhere in between 100 and 200 pounds.
Yeah.
His story is absolutely inspirational, to fight back from living on the street as a homeless guy in New Orleans, 1 to 200, morbidly obese, and to where he is at now is truly remarkable.
And he's very open and honest about talking about his he falls under the category of neurodivergent. He was at an early age diagnosed to be on the autism spectrum as well as the ADHD, so he knows that world well. So given all those obstacles and what he's overcome, we have a really good team. That's all I got to say. We have a really good bunch of guys that are just in. All of us, with the exception of you here recently and myself, have day jobs. Like, this is what they do in their quote unquote spare time, is helping out all these gentlemen from around the world. Oh, we forgot Steve in Australia. Duh. So even our guys in Australia, they have somebody to turn to that can help them out locally, if you will, a fellow mate. And our Australian group, and I say group because we're talking about, we have a private group for men only called the HFM Brotherhood. And if this interests any of you, you can go to helpformen.com, and check it out and learn more. But we have within that site a section, private support group just for men. We have approximately 700 guys from around the world in it. Number one group is in the United States. Number two, Australia, of all places. So we have a pretty big contingent in Australia, so much so that they get together annually, and they're getting ready to have their third annual gathering here. They call it Mate Fest. And in the U.S., we call it Bro Fest. And we're getting ready to have our fifth gathering in the U.S. here in Charleston, South Carolina. And now we only have 3 spots left. We just sold one yesterday. Yay, rah. So at this rate, next few months, we should have them all sold out. But we're going to meet in Charleston, have a house on the beach, hang out for a few nights. It's going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to that. So guys, check it out. Hey, look who's, I don't know if you can see on your end, Jason, yet, comments, but we have Mr. Ryan from YouTube, who is a longtime member of ours. I'm assuming it's the same Ryan. I don't want to say your name for the recording here. Ryan B. from South Africa. Welcome. Ryan's been a longtime brother and friend of ours, so welcome. For all of you, if you are watching this, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called, let us know where you are joining us from. We always love to see. So far, we got one guy in South Africa. Where are the rest of you from? And if you have a question for myself or Mr. Jason here, Coach Jason, please let us know. It doesn't have to be in regards to military. Ryan says, yep, that's him. So welcome, Ryan. It doesn't have to be military focused or involved military and all that good stuff, veterans. But if you are a veteran and you have some veteran related issues, we got the dude here. So let her rip. And whatever. You've seen my stuff. You know the material and the Dad Starting Over world and what that involves. We talk about everything kind of relationship-y oriented as a dude, like marriage, divorce, post-divorce dating, career stuff, parenting stuff, all kinds of stuff that men deal with on a day-to-day basis. And for the 700 some lucky dudes that belong to our private group, they have a bunch of like-minded guys to talk to on a regular basis. We have our forums, plural, which are very, very active 24/7 with guys talking about all kinds of stuff. We have live Zoom meetings that myself and Jason here host, along with Austin, along with Scott, along with Vance, along with Gus, along with Steve. And we all host meetings, and we talk about a variety of issues, and we communicate face-to-face in these meetings, and guys ask questions live, back and forth, and talking and getting through problems. And it's a great thing. And for our guys that miss meetings, we record them, and you can listen to them from your phone on your podcast app, along with a podcast, like a kind of monologues by our team members and members. We have that as well. HFM Brotherhood podcast. All my books, as well as Austin's book, no extra charge. Get those for free, PDF format. My books, plural, you also get an audiobook format. What else do you get? Get to access, meet us in person in these conferences that we have, that we just mentioned, as well as discounts on coaching with myself, Jason, and other guys on the team. It's roughly half off compared to what the general public pays. So it's all this that I'm telling you, all these benefits, guys, it's a whopping, it comes to less than $1 a day if you pay month to month. It like 70 some cents a day or something like that. And then it comes to, when you do the math, and then if you pay on an annual basis, it comes to even ridiculous number, like 40 some cents a day or something. I don't know what it is, but it's a bargain for everything that you get, and a lot of resources, and we will continue to add as time goes on. And one of the benefits that we have for our members is structured programs. for our guys that you can go to a guy like Jason or Austin, for example, and they have structured programs just for a specific subject matter. So, for example, Austin has a program for nice guys, very structured, going through the process of overcoming your quote unquote nice guy behavior. Again, another term for codependent, pushover, kind of people pleaser behavior. He's been through that process, and he's created his own process for getting through that. And he has a special program for guys that's very regimented and time based, and you go through step by step, and it's worked out very well for him, and guys love it. And then we have Jason here, who's come up with two of his own programs for our members. Jason, you want to talk about those?
Yeah, I've got the Be Her Lover program, which kind of spurred out of the chapter of your book, The Dead Bedroom Fix. I noticed over my time as a coach here in HFM and DSO that a lot of guys fundamentally did not understand that lover provider dynamic, the split, and how to put that into action in their life. So they may have conceptually had a conceptual level of understanding, but didn't know how to actually apply it. So you fall into kind of one of two categories. Either you were once the lover, or you have lover attributes that now you're a couple decades into a marriage, and they've sat on the mantle and collected dust, and we need to get those things off and put that back in the rotation of what we do on a regular. Or you were never that guy, and we have to build the knowledge, skills, and attributes within you to be a good lover, and then apply that to your marriage or future relationships, whatever applies. So the Be Her Lover program, the number one thing is I want guys to fall in love with the journey of seduction, not just the end game of getting her in bed. Fall in love with that part. Be I tell guys all the time, I'm a lifelong hunter. I'm a big deer hunter. I love the process as much as I love the few seconds before I release the arrow, before I drop the hammer on Bambi, whatever it is, and I love the whole part of it, being out there, being alone in my thoughts, analyzing everything and bringing it all together. It's really no different on the seduction journey. I want guys to really want and fall in love with connecting with their woman again. And I'm a big believer that both of you, you and your wife, are going to make decisions to stay connected, or by default, you will become disconnected. That's more true than untrue. I think, everybody should be able to get behind that. That's pretty, I know, broad stroke there, but come on. I think that's pretty, calling it pretty fair there. Second program is the Weather the Storm program. Unfortunately, if you're on the other side of things, and I'm talking about a little polarity here, but I coach anything from one extreme to the next, and everything in between. But the Weather the Storm program is designed for men that are either in the process of divorce or are going through it, or about to go through it. I went through a absolute nightmare of a divorce. And it took a long time. It wore on me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, every way you could possibly measure. It was really, really tough. I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from the hundreds of men that I've coached, in HFM and DSO prior to that. And I've packaged all their stories. I've got two family law attorneys that I converse with and pick their brain on different things. And we're going to continue to feed into the program, but it's called Weather the Storm. I care about you as the man. I care about providing you guidance from a non-legal perspective on how to conduct yourself during a divorce, to keep your nose out of the shit, one way to put it, and about where you're going and taking care of you during this process so you don't end up, after the end of the divorce and all the dust settles and the smoke clears, you're, sitting there with a bottle of bourbon down in shot after shot with your TV on a box in the living room and sleeping on a mattress in, another room, a bare mattress, and sometimes that may be just what happens, but I want to show you, hey, there's another way, and we can get ahead of a lot of these problems, and you can work on yourself. You can go to therapy. You can work on yourself physically. You can get your diet right. You can plan with what you're going to do with all this extra time as you're sharing custody of your children and things like that, and get better. And I want to teach guys how to do that. And, so they don't fall into a lot of the pitfalls that men fall into. And I want to prevent men taking their own lives. To be perfectly honest, it's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. But yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one that knows a man that, in fact, I lost a veteran friend of mine that was going through a divorce in June. He was a high-level special operations guy. Hadn't seen him in probably 7, 8 years, and took his own life during the course of a divorce. And there are a lot of factors and contexts that I don't need to air out here right now, but it will push you to think that you have no hope, and I have an answer to that there is hope.
And do you see? I think we know the answer to this. Is that there seems to be a disproportionate number of men ending their own life that are veterans, that especially had active service, that they saw. They were in the what's the proper term? They saw they were in the period of war. What's the proper military term for a guy?
Combat veterans.
Combat veteran. Thank you. So if you're a combat veteran, we see a disproportionately large number of men ending their life after they in their military career and come back into civilian life. And we could go on and on about why that is, but with knowing that, we have that foundation of some not so good dysfunctional thought patterns and so forth, but put on top of that, divorce. Put on top of that, wife cheated, whatever it may be, which is also, as you know, relatively common in the military world. For those that don't know, I have a special affinity for the military world simply because I grew up as a military brat. My father was Air Force. I was born overseas. He met my mom when he was overseas. We moved around a little bit, and I knew the military world my whole life. My dad passed away shortly after retirement at the age of 50. He retired at 51 or 52, and he died at 53. He was a Chief Master Sergeant, another NCO in the Air Force, so I know that world well. And he had to get deployed. Vietnam was his one combat deployment, but the rest were, after we did our thing in Iraq, and then he was gone for 3-6 months at a time. He'd go to Bahrain and Turkey and all these other bases that were supporting those efforts. So it's a pretty stressful career to get into, let alone if you're in the front lines in the combat side of things. So it's special and unique set of circumstances and stressors that the rest of the general public may not necessarily appreciate, which is why, good lead into, we are trying to recruit more and more military guys, veterans, to our private group, the HFM Brotherhood. And in fact, if you go to helpformen.com and go up to the menu, you'll see veterans in the menu, and go to that and you will learn more about, we have some content. We're starting to create content just for the military guys. You'll see an introduction video there by Jason, and then you'll see we have an offer for you guys. If you want to join our private group, we can give it to you for 40% off. So it's a very, very low monthly rate. We just want to help you guys out. We want to bring as many of you guys in, not only to help you because we see there's a huge need for this for a lot of our veteran brothers out there, but you veteran dudes make really good members. You're active. You're disciplined. Once you set your mind to something, you do it. It's very similar to if you got a company and you're trying to who do we hire for this role that we have open for our company. I've worked for big companies that say, oh, he's a veteran, yeah, put him at the top of the pile. Yeah, I want to talk to him because they know this is going to be a good one. More than likely, it's a guy who's always fresh out of deployment. He's ready to get back into things. He's very structured. He's disciplined. We're going to know this guy's going to show up first thing in the morning. He's going to be the last one to leave. He's going to be a hard worker. Get the guy to the top of the pile. And we've seen the same thing in our HFM Brotherhood group. Oh wow, those guys are active and they're disciplined and they really go after it. And when they have a goal, they try and hit it. But they also have their own little set of issues that we help them address.
So I think I want to kind of talk about why it's important to me, and I'll start out with a few numbers. 6.8% of the American population are veterans today. That number will continue to decrease according to Pew Research and the U.S. Census Bureau. Everything I'm giving you comes from those two sources. 90% of that 6.8 are men. 90%. Depending on the service, there's a little, so Army versus Navy versus Air Force, that there's a little bit of variance, but it averages out to about 90% male. Of the service members, about 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 of GWOT, Global War on Terror, so my era, post 9/11 era veterans have PTSD. And I have a history with that as well. And, I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan numerous times through my 20s and 30s and, know that very, very well. So what I noticed from my 22-year career and then being in HFM and DSO, what a lot of civilians, they're very ignorant to how the military actually works. They think you march around with rifles and do drill and ceremony and sing fucking songs all day. I don't know. I've heard people tell me, you have weekends off? And I'm like, what do you think? This is fucking prison, dude? You have time off and you're allowed to have a family and they even give you a little bit of water, and food sometimes. It's funny to me just how ignorant, and it's just, the fact is that the military civilian divide is growing greater and greater and greater. The people that serve generally is handed down, I shouldn't say generally, but oftentimes it's handed down like a family heirloom. The probability that one of my 3 children will serve in the military is very high. They know the life. They have a direct mentor, me. They have my friends that they consider uncles. We're that close to help guide them through it as well. They know, they grew up in it. But you, a random guy or gal, may not be attractive to you, and that's fine. The military is not for everyone. They're not looking for everybody. They're looking for the right fit. Kind of like any job, they're looking for the right candidate. So that, what I noticed from my career, within the Army and then coming in and coaching and counseling civilian men and some women, is that the problems are the exact same, but in the military, it's like pouring jet fuel on those problems. Here's a very alarming stat. The number one highest career for divorce rate, number one, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, according to Pew Research, the military, number one, undisputed by double.
Wow.
Is that shouldn't be that shocking. So let's look at some of the injects. If I'm a junior enlisted, brand new enlisted member of the military or a junior officer, I'm getting paid entry-level pay and taking an ultra high level of stress in a career. physical, mental, emotional, super long work hours, frequent deployments where you're gone for up to 15 months at a time. You know, literally, you could your spouse could give birth and you could miss the first birthday. And I know plenty of men that have been in that exact scenario. It is, and you have all the normal problems that you would have in a relationship. So I sit in a unique position where I already have reps from coaching men in the military on these relationship problems and giving them plans of action and resources to go better their marriage. Or, hey, here's what you need to do to divorce her, or survive the divorce, and I'll help you through it and everything and build you back up. So I, that is what I really want to help men do. Additionally, it's not just about marriage. We've got probably the toughest thing I ever have been through, other than my divorce, to include combat, was transitioning out of a career in the Army to the civilian world. While you gave a great plug towards, hey, put veterans at the top of the pile, that was not at all my experience. They don't care about veterans, they care about the right candidate. And a lot of these recruiters have no idea how to translate your military experience into something that can benefit their company. And when you try to define it for them, they kind of look at you like deer in the headlights. I found I had a very different experience. And most of my peers are entrepreneurs for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that joined the Army, did a full career in the Army, and retired. Now, your mid-careers and your junior, they a lot of times can go out and get jobs, or they're younger and things like that. But I'm 40 years old, and it's not like I didn't take care of myself, but it was I'm college educated. I've got various certifications in different disciplines and things like that, and it counted for not. and so, and I know a lot of guys that's more true than untrue for them too. I also got out in a very tough job market with inflation ultra high, and I don't know, every hiring manager was on like Quaaludes or some shit for like 8 months while I was looking for a job. It was pretty tough
Yeah,
gig.
my experience in that, to be honest, is 20 plus years ago. One big company, I don't know, should I name the company or not? I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying good things about them. Caterpillar was a big American company, big yellow machines, relatively conservative company in that way. And they made a concerted effort to veterans, good, let's find more of them. That's at least what I saw in my little circle within that big giant company. And then I saw it all as well when I went and I would do consulting work for people in the marketing realm. So I got to with some medium-sized businesses, and I also saw the same thing there with some of the military guys being propped up. But overall, in the general society, I mean, we have a track record in our country, at least, unfortunately, for shitting on our poor veterans. And we saw some of the extreme examples of that back in my father's era with the Vietnam guys coming back. And, there's these horror stories of these guys coming back, and they're sitting on a plane on a TWA flight with a bunch of other civilian types in his uniform, and a guy says, "Miss, can I move my seats, please?" And he's like, "Why is that?" "Because I don't want to sit next to this jackass, this baby killer," or whatever the vernacular was at the time. So they had to deal with that, and there's been some semblance of that since then for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Well, and in my view of it, Ralph, one to comment on the Vietnam veterans and Vietnam era veterans. It's one of the biggest black eyes on the United States of America, other than slavery of African Americans, and it's on that level of egregious acts, in my personal opinion. for the GWAT era, we were not treated like that, and I would view a certain segment of veterans as very entitled. It was like we overcorrected in a way, is my view. And now a lot of the younger veterans are very entitled and feel like they're owed something that they're not. And I wrote an article about this, and it's up for anyone who's watching here or will watch. If you go to the HFM veterans link there, the article is entitled "Choose What Type of Veteran You Want to Be," and I directly talk about what I'm kind of getting at here. Do you want to be you when you exit the military? You have a choice to make, kind of like we all have a choice to make. I could have broadened that article. Choose what type of person you want to be. Do you want to be the guy that bitches, whines, and complains, and their way through life and grumbles about everything, or do you want to be positive and go kick ass and work hard and be driven and go somewhere? Make a freaking choice. Do you want to live a healthy lifestyle or not? Well, veterans have a certain flavor of that, to where okay, hey, no one held a gun to your head in an all volunteer military and told you you will join the military for X amount of years. Didn't happen for anybody of the GWAT era. Vietnam veterans, very different story. That was the last draft. Some men were drafted, and especially in the earlier part of the war, African Americans were drafted at a vastly disproportionate rate than any other race. It's 100% fact. And whether it's by design or not, I don't know. But I think that's kind of telling. You would draft a higher number of a racial minority in a country. I think that's probably by at least eyebrow raising, but I'm gonna say probably by design. And definitely not right. But we have an opposite problem where now you've got these younger guys that think everyone owes them something, and there are plenty of resources out there. What we're trying to do with HFM and the veterans program is fuse what we have and what's out there already into one place, and have that coaching where I can kind of play both roles. I can be on 1 foot here and 1 foot there and help guys out, whether they're active duty from a mentorship perspective or a relationship perspective, and understand where they're coming from and the challenges from having had them myself, being a married man the majority of my career, and literally cradle to the grave going through a version of what they're going through. Or on the civilian side, taking all that in. Me going back into my pre DSO and HFM days, back 6+ years ago, I was very into my career. And what's funny, that is not unique to the military. That is unique to, I think, a very male thing, more so than anything. And it transcends every walk of life we have, really. Men tend to go all in their career and super provider and everything. But it presents itself in a different way in the military than in civilian life, because of how intrusive, I'll say, that serving is. Your leadership is involved in your personal life, because that is what the Army, I can speak directly for, they want that from their leaders. They want you to know your people at an intimate level. One example I always give: if you get a DUI, driving under the influence charge, in civilian life, your employer doesn't give a shit, as long as it doesn't impact your ability to do your job, and you can get to work reliably and do what you need to do. There's, unless you're the public face of the company or something, you know. But generally, I'm more right than wrong there. In the military, oh, it's a huge deal. If I, for a lot of men and women, if you got a DUI, you're going to, at a minimum, be admonished by the senior commander of your post, and it will have career implications for a retirement or senior officer, non-commissioned officer, it's career ender. You're done.
Wow.
That's the level of kind of deep dive that's done because of the level of trust in the nature of what you do in the military. Furthermore, they get into your family life and things like that. Again, to kind of circle back to a point that I made earlier, if your personal life is in shambles, you're not ready to deploy. If you can't deploy, you're only so effective as a service member. It would be no different than having a firearms charge against you, you know, a Lautenberg Amendment type charge, domestic violence, whatever. If you can't be in possession of a firearm, even if you're an HR person in the military, you can't do the base level requirement of a soldier, which is defend yourself and your unit with a firearm, pull security, things like that. You're at the most basic level ineffective. So,
And you talk about
they really
you talk
get
about
into weeds with that.
yeah, some of the personal things. Infidelity is frowned upon, especially if you're fraternizing with a fellow soldier, you know, male soldier, female soldier, they're both married and they're goofing around with each other. No, that doesn't go over well. A case can be made that it really doesn't go over well in a company either, in a civilian company, but in the military, oh yeah, see ya. Which
It can be punitive.
take you
in
to
the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It is very hard to prove. Basically, you have to have a porno to prove it. You know, and I've definitely been privy to some of those investigations and things like that, and watched the ones that were successfully prosecuted and the ones that weren't. And the ones that were, they had a very graphic, undeniable audio-visual evidence of such conduct.
here's a
But yeah, it's a major problem in the military. And I mean, is it a shock? You know, if I were to go to a civilian spouse and say, hey, your traveling businessman husband is going away for a year to Bangkok on a business trip, you better act right. And if you get lonely, just be lonely. And you know what? You get with the other wives in the company and sing Kumbaya together and all that. Is it that much of a shock that, and I'm not picking on the ladies here, but again, the vast majority of service members are men, not women. It's statistical fact. So therefore, the majority of the spouses are women, also fact. So the majority of the, I guess that I know plenty of my peers that cheated on their wives. Is it the knife kind? I guess cuts both ways there. I can't really give an edge to one or the other. I think it's all really awful stuff, to be honest with you.
I mean, so this begs
But
the
it's
question.
very common.
This begs the question of why. Why is that so damn common? Why do we see fill in the blank kind of behavior amongst our veteran brothers out there? The big picture question is this a result of their military service and everything that they endure and they see as military, or does the military attract a certain type of individual, especially in today's day and age, that is more impulsive in behavior, prone to making poor, decisions? One thing that kind of fleshes that out a little bit more, and I know growing up as a kid, military bases and stuff, you travel just outside of the military base, what do you see? pawn shop, liquor store, pawn shop, liquor store, strip club. A lot of impulsive. Hey, dude, with poor
Yeah.
decision making skills. Here's some stuff for you. Here's some alcohol. Here's pawn your guitar, get some cash so you can get a tattoo. You see tattoo parlors and all that kind of stuff. So the question is, So does it attract? Does it attract a certain type of dude, or is the dude morphing into that military lifestyle, or is it a combination of both, or what do you think?
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Everything you said.
Yeah.
So I'm a career infantry guy. So to give a very low level explanation of what my job was, I did what most people think everyone in the Army does: run around with a rifle and shoot bad guys and blow shit up. That's what I did for the majority of my career. Again, that was a very, very low level explanation just to give a frame of reference.
Yeah,
right?
because let me pause you there, because what a lot of people don't know is the military is not just guy with rifle in the front line shooting at the enemy, which is infantry, but it is all whatever you can think of. The military has it.
85% of the Army supports the 15% that does the actual war fighting.
Yeah,
That's also a fact.
You have people that
and the
sit at a
majority
desk and
of-
do paperwork all day.
The majority of your casualties in war, any war that's ever been fought, comes from the infantry.
Yeah.
By a 9 out of 10 margin. And again, it's not to disparage anyone's service or anything. I'm giving absolute factual numbers here. That's Army end strength numbers that I'm giving. So to get back to it, the answer is yes for all that. Especially in your combat arms, you've got combat arms, and your supporting elements is kind of the divide in the Army. Those are two very distinct camps. I would put it as, take yourself back to the Jurassic Park movie. You've got the T-Rex enclosure with these 50-foot high electric fences, right? With the big ass cables, and the Timmy or whatever became a crispy critter when they threw the electric fence back on in the T-Rex enclosure, right? Well, you've got the T-Rex enclosure. Those are your combat arms special operations people. They think a certain kind of way. They're risk takers. They're very broy. They're A-type men generally, more often than not. And then you've got your support elements in the military that think a very different way. And the reasons that these two types of people joined, me from having ran basic combat training in a non-combat arms format as a company first sergeant, I would take polls of why people joined, and the disparity shocked me. And I'm really just talking about the mentality of these two different people, personality differences. There's also demographic differences. Your combat arms folks generally are from the Midwest and the South. Generally, the vast majority of them. And then California gets a nod and Texas gets a nod for population, really. Just there's more people, so you're, it's a higher population area. So when we get into why things are the way they are, there's definitely validity in the you've got a large group of young, predominantly men, with a lot of freedom, disposable income, and they are in their, imagine, where they would be. We'll say they would be in a frat house if they weren't in the Army, if they went to a college, right? Well, all those frat house activities, minus the drug use, that's not okay or condoned in the Army or in the military for that matter. Those types of activities are happening just in the military. You've got guys that are, physically fit. take care of themselves, have a certain kind of swagger about them, and they've got a cool job. They have a job that a lot of women have fantasies about sleeping with those types of men in a short-term manner, you know. Um, but there are downsides to it. There are plenty of women out there that will have nothing to do with a service member just because they are serving for all the reasons we talked about. They know that they're going to leave. They know that, you know, hey, there's a stigma. I would say there's probably a little bit higher rate of womanizer type, playboy type stuff going on in some elements of the military than your civilian counterparts. Bob from accounting, no one's getting wet over that. Sorry, bud.
No offense, Bob.
No offense, Bob from accounting, but they're not making movies about you. You're a great dude, man. But everyone knows that I'm just the one calling it right now. So hey, send your hate mail, Bob. Whatever, man. But it's more true than not.
And so by virtue of their personality traits, and which leads to doing certain things, it attracts them, let's put in very general terms, to a certain type of woman that may not necessarily be the best for a long-term monogamous relationship. And so we see a lot of infidelity. We see a lot of divorce. We see a lot of very quick marriages ending in annulment. I know of the phenomenon of guys and gals getting together simply because the benefits with the military are such that if he marries, he gets much more money and she gets a little bit of money. And so why don't we just get married even though we don't really love each other? We're not really a traditional couple. Let's just do it just on paper. I knew of somebody who did that. So it lends itself to a lot of nonsense. And kind of
I think there's another thing too, and we need to. I want to ensure that I'm being fair here. There are I have met a countless amount of women that are truly patriotic, and they view this as their contribution to their country in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they were a soldier's daughter, and they know that life. Or maybe, they're the type of person that they want to embrace the adventure of moving every 3 to 4 years. And, they're kind of like a leaf in the wind, and that's how they want to live their life. I've seen that too. So I don't want to sit here and say that, disparage military spouses. We're right with this. Everything that you said, without a doubt, there are women that are like that are attracted to, that risk taking, a
bad boy,
the bad boy persona and all that. And there are also deeply patriotic, wonderful women that I have an unbelievable amount of respect for, that have been awesome spouses to my peers and their personal friends of mine. Hat off, because damn, ladies, it is life on hard mode in a way that very few people understand. And when your husband goes to war, all the finances, everything falls on you. And for them to incorporate their husband back into the family and be able to get back into the honeymoon phase and pick up, and it's a tough drill. And then to do that for supporting your husband through a career, man, just incredible. I think there are definitely women out there that, feel that too. That they feel led to, contribute in that way. And then there are some that, hey, they don't care what their husband does. They fell in love with the man and that was in front of them. And, hey, he happened to be a service member, and she went with it. And, fell into that lifestyle and things like that. I think it's a little bit of everything. And we can't really say it, you can't really say, hey, all these spouses are damaged individuals. I think it's unique as the situation, but there's definitely pockets of, you know,
Yeah,
you're
I would say overall the if you were to like percentage wise, what percentage of just take Group A, which are a bunch of civilians, and say what's the rate of infidelity over here, and then compare it to Group B, which is active military family. I would think the military probably has a higher rate of something like infidelity, of divorce. So it's just the nature of the beast.
I've never seen any stats on it, but it would. I think, yeah, it would be higher and higher by quite a bit
Well, I
if
mean,
I had to place a bet on it.
yeah. Well, we know culturally within the military we have just little things like names for the man who your wife is sleeping with.
Jody,
Jody. Yeah, we all know. And
Jody will take care of your car while you're deployed and your wife.
so you
Super
can
good
see
job.
it's so much part of the culture and of whatever that we start having little code words for things and stuff. And yeah, I heard that one all through my childhood. Freaking Jody, Jody this, Jody that. But Irv here mentions, Irv from Facebook says it seems like the idea of open relationships it's are going on in the military community.
Oh, yeah.
That's a general in regular life. We're seeing the open marriage thing becoming more and more popular. Just go do a search on Google and you'll see article after article about, is this the new thing? And it seems to be a lot of women are driving that, which is a surprise to everyone, including myself. So obviously if it's that thing is going up in regular society, we're going to see it in the military, maybe even more so.
Oh, it's been going on for a long time. Yeah, I remember being a young guy married in the army and being propositioned for different types of parties, or you would hear about these different swinger and kink things, and I'm not I wouldn't consider myself a vanilla dude, and I'm definitely very sex positive, but
Little
being
out there.
sex positive doesn't mean that you're
Open to
personally going to
everything.
engage in, you've got your boundaries, but
Yeah.
you're just saying, hey, do your thing. I'm, cool, man, whatever. What's that like, and, but that's not my thing. But I remember, hearing stories, and then, these people are into these things, and then it makes it a little bit awkward when you see them
at the
kind of
grocery
like
store or whatever.
being on a cruise with your spouse, and there's that one couple at the other end of the bar, and they're looking at you, and you're just waiting for one of them to come over, and normally it's the wife that comes over and starts chatting up your wife, and then that's how the whole thing goes, and gassing her up. It's
Yeah.
the right out of the pineapple playbook. Upside down pineapple playbook.
Yeah, I've been made aware of that. I have a pair of swim trunks that has pineapples on it, and it's all over. The pineapple's just a pattern, and a lot of them are upside down. And I was
Yeah.
told like, "Oh, watch it, buddy. You're giving off vibes there. You're telling."
Yeah.
I had no idea. All right, good to know. But we have joining us in the comments, Ryan and Irv. Both are from the HFM Brotherhood. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us. Not a lot of activity in the comments here today. If there's anybody that's watching and keeping quiet, if you could do me a favor and give this a like, that helps out a lot. That tells the Facebooks and the YouTubes of the world that this is something that people are watching. So click like on that or share. Give me a subscribe or follow wherever you're watching this. But if you have a question, guys, I want to wrap it up here soon. We're coming up to the hour. But now's the time to ask myself or Jason in the world of relationships, veteran affairs, whatever it may be. Let's hear it, ladies and germs. But in the meantime, check out helpformen.com and our private group, the HFM Brotherhood. Irv says, you crack me up, Jay. So, yes, me too, obviously.
Irv, you're a good guy, man. Irv and I chat quite a bit offline. I think that's another cool thing about the HFM Brotherhood. You get to know these guys really well online, and then you meet them in Brofest. And there's not one guy I can think of that I've known really well from DSO or HFM, then went to Brofest and not been wowed by them even more in person. Just how funny, professional, and you're like, you're even better than the online person, that I met.
Hmm.
And you get to know them better than a lot of your real in the flesh, IRL in real life friends will say, and your non online friends. And and you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You
Hmm.
have in the forums that we have this safe area to put all of your really deep, dark things that you're going through, and the men there understand. And what's funny is that you can't do that with a lot of your friends.
No,
Uh,
exactly.
Either you're afraid it's going to get awkward, or there's going to be some type of conflict of interest, or whatever, or they're too close to the problem, perhaps, uh, you know, or they're not going to understand. Uh, but what I know about people is everyone has some bullshit that they're going through. If you walk out on the sidewalk today, everyone you pass, while they're kind of looking in front of them, that's right here. Whatever problem they're going through, everybody has one,
Oh yeah.
that weighs heavily on their mind and their shoulders. Well, we've got a forum where 24/7 you can vomit in that safe area, and I've lost count of the amount of men that say men have no one to talk to and nowhere. You can't talk to your wife because she'll lose respect for you. Okay, there's definitely validity to a version of that,
Mm.
I would say. Making your wife your therapist, very, very inappropriate. I can't talk to my mom and dad because so and so, or they just can't relate, or they can't help me.
And
Now,
your male friends are pretty casual usually. It's the dad of my kid's friend, and we get together and we'll drink coffee while we're watching the high school football game. We'll talk about work, talk about some kind of sporting thing or something on the news. It never gets deep. I'm not going to turn to that guy and go, so erectile dysfunction. You had any, got any experience with that, Bob? And he'd be like, okay. or
yeah, I don't want to have any more combos with you, boner
yeah,
guy.
exactly. Or even, get into the less funny stuff about like, so caught my wife cheating on me. That guy's going to be like, oh shit, I don't know how to deal with this. I have no experience with this. You go to our group, for example, either of those topics, and you're going to get 100 replies, pretty quickly about, oh yeah, I've dealt with this. Here's how I dealt with it. Here, da, da, da.
Yeah.
I'm here for your brother. You can chat with me offline if you want, and all this other stuff. That's unusual for a lot of guys. Probably 99% of guys are like, I don't have that in my life at all. That's sad.
I want to shift gears real quick and highlight from the veteran perspective why your military background and training will make you successful as a member of HFM. I'm gonna talk about two guys that are on my short list of dozens of veterans that we've had in the DSO fraternity and now the HFM Brotherhood. I'm gonna talk about two guys. I won't mention them by name, but the members will know. And if I hope they listen because this is a tribute to you two magnificent gentlemen. Guy number one served a career in the Army, re- found DSO, now HFM, uh, kind of at the beginning of his retirement path, which is about a 2 year glide path. Most people think it's like getting out of the military is like that. For the retirement age folks, it's about a 2 year, 18-month long ordeal. Very, very difficult. You're literally uh, you know, retooling the factory floor of every facet of your life. And for me, I joined at 18 years old, so here I am 40. It's like a midlife career change on whatever the biggest steroids you could possibly take. It's a very, very difficult process. So this gentleman joins the fraternity, and starts his self-improvement path with DSO and now HFM, and it really helped him better himself. And he found that his time in the military, he could draw from that, from the discipline, from working inside of a structural framework, a program, and accomplishing what he set out to do. He transitions out of the military and everything, and now he's on his way to becoming an attorney. Well on his way to doing that. He updates us, every few months and everything, and is still a member. His oldest son is now a member of the Army. Joined the Army and everything. He went from being, kind of a skinny fat type of guy, and all that, to being very, very fit and a great example, for his family and all that. He is more fit now than he was in the latter years of being in the military. Fact. And he if he came on right now, he would tell you that. 100% fact. Another guy, he and I happened to be stationed together at my final duty station. I met him prior to that, towards the latter end of my duties, the duty station before that, and I was coaching him. And I had the privilege of being stationed with him while being a coach within the program, and he and I would go out to lunch. He used our program and the knowledge and confidence that he got along with his military training, fused those two disciplines together. And now he was able to complete warrant officer training, where I could make an effective argument that he wouldn't have been able to do that or wouldn't have been motivated to do that had he not joined our fraternity. Had the DSO fraternity at the time and HFM Brotherhood now. What does this mean to you, the veteran? You've been shown the knowledge, skills, and attributes, the baseline things that will make you successful in pretty much anything you ever endeavor to accomplish, right? If you were to put that stuff into self-improvement like we're giving you here within the HFM Brotherhood, I won't guarantee anything other than if you apply that and execute, you're going to have everything you need, buddy. If you do what's required, you'll have everything you need and you'll be just fine. But it really takes, what brought me to the program, reading The Dead Bedroom Fix, and having that it's very attractive to your veteran community because they hear that very decisive, no bullshit tone that the book is written in, and it's very attractive. They're like, oh, that kind of sounds, like my leadership in the military, and oh, they were right, or hey, it's a very fatherly, no bullshit, or like any good friend you would have, a mentor. They're gonna shoot you straight there. And I realized very quickly that I have all the tools I need. I just need to execute, and I'd open my eyes up to a larger problem, self-made problem. And, I would just tell you guys, read The Dead Bedroom Fix, explore the Help for Men Brotherhood and helpformen.com, and especially our veterans page. You have the privilege of getting, through your service, the largest discount that is offered, period. 40% off. 40% off of membership, and that goes monthly, annually, or if you buy a lifetime membership, it's 40% off across the board, whatever level of membership you would want to choose there. I'm fusing both the traditional helpformen.com type of relationship and self-improvement stuff and military-specific content. I've written multiple articles. I'm doing a monthly veterans and friends, which I want to be inclusive in, involving other people that want to either learn more about veteran-type issues or, maybe connect with better connect with veterans or a family member that's a veteran, or they're just patriotic people and want to be there, and or they like kind of the gloves off, dark humor type stuff, and it's wildly entertaining. A lot of people like me for that. Hey, if that's you, man, come on, join the party. But veteran specific content, I really want to help men out and kind of fuse those two worlds into a one-stop shop. And with me as the pivot point, Coach Austin is also a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. So I'll definitely be pulling him in. And I look forward to pulling in a lot of different people I know that have served and gotten out. And all of them are very, very funny, very low bullshit, and wildly successful at whatever they've done. And it'll definitely be a good time. So from an entertainment perspective, there's a baked in flavor that we're going to give you that'll be a lot of fun as well.
And I put the link on the website in the comments there. So for YouTube and Facebook, look at the comment. YouTube, you'll see it in the chat, and Facebook, you'll see it in the comments to this post. helpformen.com/veterans. You can just click on that link, and we have a page that we are continually adding content to for our veterans. And if you scroll down, you'll see the link to the Brotherhood, which is our private group for men only. That's what you get the 40% off of that Jason mentioned there. So we would love to have you. So do check it out, folks, if you are a veteran. And if you're not a veteran, please check it out. helpformen.com, the HFM Brotherhood. We would love to have you. And we have Irv and Ryan here on the chat with us today. Both are members, so welcome, guys. And Jason, I think that about wraps it up. It's been about an hour. Thank you, brother. Thank you for...
Yeah, and I'll just say, if anyone has any questions about anything, you can email me at jason.h@helpformen.com, and I'd be happy to entertain your question. I'd love to get you in the program and bring you into the fold. It does not matter what your component is, active, guard, reserve, what your branch is. I want to help you out. I want to bring you into something that I have found value in and that I've stayed with for a reason. It's a quality program we're running here, and we definitely want you.
This one last point to make is that a lot of men, I don't know if the military guys are more prone to this than the general public, but we see in the general public a tendency for men who go through some kind of traumatic event, divorce, post-war, whatever it may be, to go into this lone wolf. I'll just go to my cave and I'll lick my wounds and I'll emerge a better man eventually. And what a lot of them find is that I ain't getting any better, or this is taking far too long.
Well, I wrote an article about that too, called "Coming to Terms with the War." And me being on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan, I had an epiphany back in March, where for the first time in my adult life, from 18 years old, now I'm 40, I'm moved away from a combatant military command, and I did not realize how much of a bubble that I was in. I never lived on a military installation other than when I was an unmarried, single guy living in the Army barracks at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and a duty station prior to that when I was overseas in Korea. But even off post, most of the people in the surrounding areas of a military installation, they're all heavily involved and influenced by what goes on at that military installation. For example, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, right on the border, literally the border passes through Kentucky, and the Kentucky-Tennessee border passes through the post. That post brings the state of Tennessee $1 billion of revenue annually. $1 billion. I could make an effective argument that the two major communities outside of Fort Campbell, that's the home of the 101st Airborne Division. Yep, love my 101 for sure. But if that post went away, those two communities would be deeply impacted. It would, a lot of the businesses would dry up. It would be awful. I say all that to say, me moving about 3 hours away from that installation, I live pretty close to another military installation, but it is mainly DoD contractors. There's only about 1,000 green suiters, so active duty service members there, that are stationed there. But I had a hard time connecting because I didn't realize how radically different my life, that my chosen profession, my life was from the next guy. And down here, there aren't a whole lot of guys like me. That not only, if we were to drill down by the numbers, 6.8% of the American population are veterans. Only 15% of that 6.8 is actually probably lower than that, are a combat type position, right? So there's a certain mentality, a certain grit, that killer instinct. You're talking about a very, very low number. And for me to try to connect with someone, for example, if we were to talk about a subject like, I get asked all the time, what was combat like? Well, if you ask me a question like that, I've learned that civilians oftentimes can't handle the answer that I give them. So I'm just like, kind of shrug it off now, because I can't even handle a freaking story. It's sad. And they watch violent movies all the time. It blew my mind. But they have no worldly frame of reference to connect with what I'm talking about because it is such a rare occurrence. Half of 1% of the American population served in a 21-year conflict. Half of 1%. It's shocking. Mm-hmm. And that number will continue to go down, and is the projection. So it can be a very lonely space. I want to tell guys that I get it. I understand you. I want to work with you. I want to build this brotherhood with you. You can be a plank holder of an organization, a charter member, and help us build something that matters and brings value to the veterans community.
Perfectly said. Well put. Yeah, guys, you're not alone. A lot of dudes out there, and we have learned over the years, and any kind of mental health professional will tell you the same thing. Do you want to expedite your healing? Do you want to get better quicker? Do you want to go through this process at a good pace and not just be stagnant and whatever and depressed? Then you need help from others. And a lot of men are like, yeah, but no one can relate to what it is I'm going through. I could, like I talked about the guy at the football game. I'm not going to tell him about my divorce and the infidelity and He's not going to be able to relate. Well, good news. We have hundreds of men from around the world that can relate to exactly what it is you're going through. And we're trying to build the community for our veterans. So they have other guys to talk to, like Coach Jason here, to talk about their specific things that they are dealing with on a daily basis.
I'd like to make one last very macro point here, right? Your friends that you have, a lot of them, you wouldn't tell them your inner workings. You have within our program, within the HFM Brotherhood, quite a few degrees of separation. And you're talking to men online that have no idea who you are, that live across the country, blah, 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 but they're going through what you're going through, right? In what I know about military training is the reason why we get so close to each other is the shared hardship and struggles that you go through. We have created a forum where that same effect happens. That is why the phenomena that I talked about earlier, where you strike up a friendship with men that you meet online and then go to an event like BroFest And it's like you've known that guy for 20 years because you've shared the most intimate, deeply personal, your baggage, the things that you haven't told your best friend, your wife, your parents, whatever. You've spilled it, in this forum, and those guys showed up for you more than anybody else did. And then you meet them in person. That's the brotherhood. And it's no different than you crawling through the mud under Constantina wire with, this random dude from across the country. Maybe you were a farm kid and that kid's from the inner city, but you guys are both equally worthless in that moment, according to your drill instructor, drill sergeant, spraying you with the hose and crawling under the Constantina wire in the mud. We're not doing those things here, but that shared hardship is what I'm kind of commenting on right now. That is how you build a brotherhood. That is exactly what we're doing.
Very good. So guys, check it out. Helpformen.com and the HFM Brotherhood, our private group for men only. Can't stress that enough. Men only. Nothing against you ladies out there, but us men need our own little private, quote unquote, safe space to talk about this kind of stuff. And didn't think I'd use that term today, but you know what I mean. Place where we can talk about this stuff with no judgment from those outside of our little group. That's very, very important. Hugely important for us guys. Coach Jason, thank you once again. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much for having me on, Ralph.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
And we'll do this again for sure. So everyone, farewell. Thank you all so very much.